stay tuned at the end of this for a special announcement. It's an invitation to you that we're pretty excited about. Just stay tuned. Okay, here we go. My oldest daughter is starting high school next year. And in our area, we're lucky enough to have a few great high schools to choose from. So recently we went to the school's information nights to see how they all set themselves apart. Honestly, every school we went to, they were all really impressive. They all had dedicated teachers who deeply care about their students. They all had a clear commitment to academic success, a passion for inclusivity, and wonderful extracurricular activities. We're really blessed to have such amazing options nearby. But one school really stood out in my eyes. I wanted to tell you about that experience. So we walk into this school and two students greet us at the front door with like a smile, and they give us some brochures and stuff. Then they point us down some winding hallways, and we make our way all the way to the other end of the building until we finally get to the gym. The gym is packed. Tons of parents and students, all antsy and nervous and excited about this major upcoming life transition. The orchestra is playing background music over here as we enter, and the teachers are all seated together in a big group of folding chairs, all wearing matching shirts out off kind of to the side of the basketball court. So we sit there for a few minutes. We're already impressed by the energy in the room, and then it starts. And this is where it gets both interesting to me and relevant to today's message. The student body president is the first to speak. He takes the microphone and comes out and gives a really nice little welcome message. Then he introduces another student, and she comes out and talks about her experience for a couple minutes. And then she introduces this student athlete, and he comes and takes the microphone, gives this wonderful testimonial. And then that kid actually introduces the dance team, who all come out and do this like 90-second show that everybody just goes nuts for. Then the student body president comes back after the dance team, and he makes a few comments, and finally, at about the 10-minute mark, he introduces the school principal. I wonder if you notice what I was noticing. The school chose to feature the voices of students. But then, and I'm not making this up, the principal starts to give his speech. And I'm not joking, at least half of his speech was him quoting students. How cool is that? This school had their professionals sit tight as they lifted up the voices of the people whose voices were most important that night, the students, the kids. I just thought that was wonderful. And I think we can all take a lesson from that. There are people in our lives who need us to help lift up and amplify their voices. So there's actually a cool part of the David and Goliath story that relates to this, believe it or not. I was rereading this whole chapter in 1 Samuel the other day, and I came across this one line that I want you to remember. You probably know the gist of this 3,000-year-old story. Big bad Goliath is the champion soldier of the Philistines. He challenges any soldier in King Saul's Israelite army to a fight. For days, nobody wants a piece of this massive dude. Then David, who's this young kid, who's not even a soldier, his dad didn't even want him fighting. His dad literally told him to stay home and take care of the sheep. Anyway, the meat of the story is that David eventually challenges Goliath and beats him with a slingshot and a stone right to the middle of the forehead. It's a pretty cool action sequence in the Old Testament, but that's not why I'm referencing this old story. There's a moment in the story where little David, who's supposed to be nowhere near the battlefield and who is supposed to be tending sheep, is trying to ask his older brothers and the other soldiers who are there, hey, who's this big old Philistine bully and what's he want? And the older brothers and the other soldiers keep hushing him. They keep saying things like, what are you doing here, man? You're not even supposed to be here. And little David stands up for himself, and this is the line I want you to hear. He says to his older brothers and the other soldiers, he says, can't I even speak? Can't I even speak? I love that little line. David, the hero of the story, and the eventual king of the Israelites, was being silenced. Can't I even speak, he said? There are people in our lives who need us to help lift up and amplify their voices because they might be heroes, because they might be kings and queens in shepherd's clothing, because their voice matters. We can actively lift up these voices. We can advocate for these voices. We can quiet our own voices to make space for others. We can and we should lift up voices that have been kept out of conversations for far too long. We need to hear these voices. By the way, welcome to Between, and right now I want to share an invitation with you. I want to invite your voice to the Between pulpit. Let me explain. We claim to be creating the most open church on earth, and we want to prove it. We are inviting you, you, to submit a sermon for Between. We want your voice to be heard right here. We want our global Between congregation to hear from you. You can learn all about it at the website that's on the screen right now. You'll find a bunch of instructions and helpful tips and guidelines on that website. But what's important is this: you are welcome here, and your voice is welcome here. At Between, we welcome and affirm absolutely everyone, no matter your background, no matter your faith tradition, no matter what you've done, or who you love, or where you come from, or what you believe, or even if you believe, or what anyone else has told you about yourself. You are welcome here. Will you join me in the spirit of prayer? Today, I pray to be an amplifier, to be a microphone giver and a voice lifter-upper. God, help me raise up the voices of people who have been silenced for too long. Help me boost the volume of your quieter creations and hush my own voice in the service of what really needs to be said and who really needs to say it. God, make me an amplifier of the truth and wisdom that our noisy world hasn't yet heard. Amen. Between is about you. Take this message out into your life this week and make it real. My favorite church is the space between people. The space between you and everyone you encounter this week can be a sacred space if you choose to make it so. Now go with God's love and create the church between.